We live in an age obsessed with comfort. Every advertisement, every product, every lifestyle influencer promises the same thing: an easier life, a softer existence, a world where friction is eliminated and discomfort is treated like a disease to be cured. We're told that happiness is found in the elimination of struggle, that the good life is the comfortable life, that progress means removing every obstacle between desire and satisfaction. But what if this entire premise is a carefully disguised form of spiritual decay? What if the relentless pursuit of comfort isn't elevating us, but quietly eroding the very foundations of our strength? Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher who dared to question every comfortable assumption of his era, saw this pattern with disturbing clarity. He observed that cultures become soft, not through hardship, but through the systematic avoidance of it. He understood that comfort, when pursued as an end in itself, doesn't preserve our vitality. It slowly strangles it. The evidence surrounds us. The most comfortable generation in human history also reports the highest levels of anxiety, depression, and existential emptiness. Those who have eliminated every source of discomfort from their lives often find themselves paralyzed by the smallest challenges. The paradox is inescapable: the more we optimize for comfort, the more fragile we become. What Nietzsche recognized was that strength isn't preserved through ease. It's forged through resistance, cultivated through challenge, maintained through voluntary struggle. This video will explore why comfort has become our most seductive poison, how it systematically weakens our psychological immune system, and what Nietzsche's philosophy reveals about reclaiming the inner strength that modern life is designed to atrophy. You'll discover why resistance is not the enemy of growth, but its essential condition, how voluntary discomfort builds the psychological resilience that comfort destroys, and why the path to authentic vitality requires embracing the very struggles we've been taught to avoid. Imagine a muscle that's never used. It doesn't remain stable, waiting patiently for the day it might be needed. It atrophies, it weakens. The fibers break down, the strength dissipates, and eventually, what was once capable becomes pathetically fragile. Nietzsche understood that the human spirit operates under the same biological law: use it or lose it. But unlike a muscle, the spirit doesn't announce its deterioration with visible symptoms. It weakens silently, invisibly, behind a comfortable facade that everything is fine. What Nietzsche perceived with frightening clarity was that comfort is not a neutral state. It's not simply the absence of discomfort. It's an active force that reshapes us, that rewires our nervous system, that fundamentally alters our relationship with challenge and adversity. Every time we choose the easier path, we're not just avoiding temporary discomfort. We're training our psyche to become progressively less capable of handling any discomfort at all. We're teaching ourselves at a neurological level that struggle is abnormal, that resistance is intolerable, that any friction is a problem to be immediately solved rather than a challenge to be engaged. Consider the modern professional who has optimized every aspect of their environment for maximum comfort. They wake to a perfectly controlled climate, consume carefully curated content that never challenges their worldview, work in ergonomically perfect conditions, exercise in temperature-regulated spaces with entertainment to distract from any sensation of effort, and end their day with substances or screens designed to eliminate any remaining tension. On the surface, this looks like the good life. But watch what happens when the slightest disruption occurs. A delayed flight, a critical email, an uncomfortable conversation, a minor setback at work. The reaction is completely disproportionate. Anxiety spikes. Sleep is disrupted for days. The nervous system, untrained in handling adversity, treats a minor inconvenience as a catastrophic threat. Now observe someone who has maintained what Nietzsche would call their warrior spirit, not through violence, but through consistent engagement with challenge. They deliberately seek discomfort, cold exposure, difficult conversations, physical challenges that push their limits, intellectual problems that resist easy solutions, creative projects that demand sustained effort without guaranteed reward. When disruption arrives in their life, and it always does, their response is fundamentally different. Not because they're naturally tougher, but because their psychological immune system has been continuously trained. They've maintained their capacity to metabolize adversity, to transform resistance into growth, to find vitality precisely where others find only threat. Nietzsche spent his life studying why some individuals and cultures thrive under pressure, while others collapse at the first sign of difficulty. His answer was ruthlessly honest. Those who thrive are those who have never allowed themselves to become completely comfortable. They understand, whether consciously or intuitively, that comfort is a temporary shelter, not a permanent home. They use periods of ease to prepare for inevitable challenge, not to convince themselves that challenge can be permanently avoided. They see discomfort not as an aberration to be eliminated, but as an essential nutrient for psychological strength. In his clinical observations of human nature, conducted not in a therapist's office but through relentless self-examination and cultural analysis, Nietzsche noticed something disturbing. The individuals in societies that proclaimed themselves most civilized and comfortable were often the most spiritually exhausted. They had all the external markers of success, material abundance, safety, leisure time, entertainment, but beneath this comfortable surface was a profound emptiness, a sense that something essential had been lost. What had been lost was precisely their capacity for struggle, their tolerance for discomfort, their ability to find meaning in resistance rather than only in reward. The characteristic of those who broke free from this pattern was not that they rejected comfort entirely. Nietzsche was no advocate of pointless suffering. It was that they refused to make comfort their highest value. They understood that a life organized entirely around the avoidance of discomfort becomes, paradoxically, the most uncomfortable life of all. Because such a life leaves you completely unprepared for the challenges that cannot be avoided, the losses that cannot be prevented, the struggles that give life its texture and meaning. They had learned what modern culture desperately tries to forget, that strength is not preserved through protection, but through use, not through avoidance, but through engagement. But here's the insidious part, the illusion of progress that comfort creates. Because comfort does produce results in the short term, we mistake it for a sustainable strategy. Avoiding a difficult conversation does eliminate immediate tension. Staying in your climate-controlled home does prevent physical discomfort. Consuming only content that confirms your worldview does feel psychologically safe. The problem is that these short-term comforts come at a compounding long-term cost. Each avoidance makes the next challenge seem more insurmountable. Each elimination of friction makes your capacity for handling friction diminish. You think you're making your life easier, but you're actually making yourself weaker, which ultimately makes your life harder. Nietzsche's insight was that we must break this pattern not through forced asceticism, but through the deliberate cultivation of what he called hardness, not cruelty toward others, but a form of demanding engagement with life. This meant seeking challenges that required your full capacity, engaging problems that had no easy solutions, developing skills that demanded years of uncomfortable practice, pursuing truths that threatened your comfortable beliefs. It meant treating your spirit like an athlete treats their body, not by avoiding all stress, but by applying the right kind of stress in the right doses to produce adaptation and growth. But the question remains, what does this actually look like in practice? How do we begin to reverse the softening effects of comfort when our entire environment is designed to eliminate struggle? How do we rebuild strength in a world that equates strength with toxicity and vulnerability with virtue? The answer requires understanding not just why comfort weakens us, but what specific practices can restore our capacity for the struggle that gives life its vitality and meaning. If this content is making sense to you, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Because what comes next is not a return to some romanticized, harsh past, but something far more interesting, a deliberate, intelligent engagement with discomfort that modern life has systematically trained us to avoid. The solution begins not with rejecting all comfort, but with understanding that comfort is like a drug that requires increasing doses to produce the same effect while simultaneously destroying your natural capacity for vitality. Just as an addict requires progressively more of their substance while their baseline happiness plummets, the comfort addict requires ever greater ease while their baseline resilience collapses. The path forward requires deliberate withdrawal, not into pointless suffering, but into the kind of meaningful struggle that ancient wisdom and modern psychology both confirm as essential for human flourishing. Nietzsche didn't arrive at this understanding through abstract philosophy. He lived it. His life was marked by chronic illness, social isolation, and repeated professional rejection. He could have used these difficulties as justification for seeking maximum comfort, for minimizing all additional stress, for protecting himself from any unnecessary challenge. Instead, he did the opposite. He walked for hours daily in the Swiss mountains, enduring weather that most would avoid. He pursued intellectual problems that offered no promise of resolution or reward. He wrote books knowing they might never find an audience. He deliberately maintained tension in his life because he understood that this tension was what kept him psychologically alive. What emerges from understanding Nietzsche's approach is not a prescription for suffering, but a method for meaningful engagement. The goal is not to eliminate comfort, but to ensure that comfort serves growth rather than replaces it. This requires a fundamental shift in how we structure our lives, not around the question, how can I make this easier, but around the question, what challenge will make me stronger? This shift transforms everything because it changes comfort from a destination to a resource, from an end to a means, from something we constantly seek to something we strategically use. The path Nietzsche mapped is simultaneously simple and incredibly demanding. Simple because the principle is clear. Deliberately seek the resistance that builds strength. Demanding because our entire psychological and cultural conditioning screams against it. Every instinct trained by modern convenience tells us to choose the easier option. Every social message reinforces that comfort equals success. Every product promises to eliminate one more source of friction from our lives. To swim against this current requires not just understanding why it's necessary, but having a practical framework for doing so. What awaits those who take this path is not a life of grim endurance, but something far more valuable. The recovery of your capacity for vitality, for genuine confidence born from tested strength rather than untested self-esteem, for the deep satisfaction that comes only from overcoming real challenges. But first, you must understand the specific structure that makes this transformation possible, the concrete practices that translate philosophical insight into daily reality, the method that prevents this from becoming just another comfortable idea that never challenges how you actually live. Nietzsche's approach to reclaiming strength begins with a fundamental realization. You cannot think your way into strength. You must act your way into new thinking. The modern mind, comfortable and analytical, wants to understand everything before acting. But this is precisely the trap. The comfortable mind seeks comfortable knowledge, information that requires no risky application, insights that never demand uncomfortable change, wisdom that can be consumed like entertainment, rather than lived like a discipline. What's required instead is a structured engagement with specific forms of discomfort, practiced with enough consistency to create genuine adaptation rather than just temporary suffering. Nietzsche understood that random, chaotic hardship doesn't strengthen. It merely traumatizes. But chosen, progressive, meaningful challenge systematically rebuilds the capacity for struggle that comfort has atrophied. This isn't about becoming needlessly harsh, but about recovering your natural human capacity to metabolize resistance, to find energy in opposition, to grow through friction rather than only in its absence. The structure consists of 4 essential domains of practice, each designed to target a different dimension of the strength that comfort has weakened. These aren't separate techniques to be sampled casually, but interconnected practices that work together to reverse the softening effects of modern life. They require genuine commitment, because unlike comfortable self-improvement that makes you feel better immediately, this approach makes you feel worse before you feel better, which is precisely how you know it's working. Physical challenge. Establish a daily practice of voluntary physical discomfort that goes beyond the comfortable wellness routines designed to feel good. This means cold exposure that actually tests your will, not just brief cold showers that you've adapted to. This means physical training that regularly brings you to the edge of your capacity, not the comfortable repetition of exercises you've mastered. This means walking or running in weather conditions you'd normally avoid, working physically when you're tired, maintaining physical challenges even when motivation is absent. The goal isn't fitness, though that's a byproduct, but the systematic training of your nervous system to tolerate and eventually thrive under physical stress. Nietzsche's daily mountain walks weren't exercise. They were a form of what he called self-overcoming, a deliberate engagement with elements that demanded something from him rather than catering to his comfort. Psychological exposure. Deliberately seek situations that trigger your social anxiety, your fear of judgment, your need for approval. This means having the difficult conversations you've been avoiding, expressing opinions you know will meet resistance, attempting things where failure is possible and visible, pursuing creative or professional goals where your inadequacy will be temporarily exposed. Most people organize their entire lives around avoiding psychological discomfort, which guarantees that their capacity for handling it will continue to diminish. The practice here is not reckless exposure, but progressive engagement with situations that activate your psychological defense mechanisms, allowing you to observe these mechanisms and gradually expand your window of tolerance. When Nietzsche published works that he knew would be misunderstood and rejected, he was practicing precisely this form of psychological exposure. Not because he enjoyed rejection, but because he refused to let fear of rejection constrain his expression. Intellectual struggle. Engage regularly with problems, books, and ideas that genuinely confuse and challenge you, rather than those that confirm what you already believe or can easily master. This means spending sustained time with difficult texts rather than summaries and simplified explanations. This means pursuing questions that have no clear answers rather than only problems with solutions. This means developing skills that require years of uncomfortable incompetence before competence emerges. The modern comfortable mind wants immediate comprehension, quick mastery, the feeling of getting it after a brief engagement. But real intellectual strength comes from sustained grappling with difficulty, from tolerating the discomfort of not understanding, from pushing through the resistance that genuine learning requires. Nietzsche spent years studying philosophy, philology, and music, not because it was pleasant, but because it demanded everything he had. Relational authenticity. Practice expressing your genuine thoughts and feelings even when doing so creates tension, disagreement, or temporary distance in your relationships. This doesn't mean being needlessly harsh, but it means refusing the comfortable inauthenticity that modern social life encourages. It means saying no when you want to say no, expressing disagreement when you genuinely disagree, maintaining your boundaries even when others are upset by them, allowing relationships to contain conflict and tension rather than demanding they always feel harmonious. Most people sacrifice authenticity for comfort, which creates relationships that feel safe but empty. The practice is to gradually increase your tolerance for relational discomfort, discovering that relationships become deeper and more genuine precisely when they can hold tension rather than only harmony. These 4 domains work together because they train different dimensions of the same fundamental capacity: your ability to remain present and functional in the face of discomfort rather than immediately seeking relief. This is what Nietzsche meant by will to power. Not domination of others, but the capacity to exert will in the face of internal and external resistance. Every time you maintain your practice despite discomfort, you're rebuilding this capacity. Every time you choose the challenging path when the easy path is available, you're reversing the weakening effects of comfort. The synthesis is that Nietzsche himself practiced this daily. His chronic migraines, digestive problems, and near blindness would have justified a life of maximum comfort and minimum challenge. Instead, he maintained his intellectual output, his physical practices, his demanding standards for his own thinking and writing. Not because he was superhuman, but because he understood that the alternative, organizing his life entirely around comfort, would have destroyed him far more completely than his illnesses ever could. He knew that a life without resistance becomes unbearably light, that comfort without challenge produces not peace but restlessness, that ease without difficulty makes everything feel meaningless. The path requires what Nietzsche called amor fati, love of fate, which means embracing difficulty not as an unfortunate interruption of your comfortable life, but as the essential ingredient that makes life worth living. This doesn't mean pretending hardship doesn't hurt. It means understanding that the hurt is precisely what builds the strength, that the resistance is exactly what creates the adaptation, that the struggle is not the obstacle to the good life, but its very foundation. But here's where most people stop. They understand the principle, they see the logic, they recognize the truth of it, and then they do nothing, because understanding that comfort weakens you is itself comfortable. Reading about the importance of challenge is itself easy. Agreeing with Nietzsche's philosophy requires no discomfort at all. The real test, the only test that matters, comes when you must actually choose the harder path, when your comfortable habits are challenged, when the warm bed calls and the cold morning demands you rise. This is where philosophy becomes practice, where idea becomes embodiment, where comfortable agreement transforms into uncomfortable action. What emerges in that moment of choice is not just a test of will, but a revelation of who you currently are and who you have the potential to become. Because in that gap between the easy and the hard, between the comfortable and the challenging, lies everything that matters about human development. Every time you close that gap by choosing challenge, you become slightly less fragile and slightly more capable. Every time you widen it by choosing comfort, you become slightly more dependent on ease and slightly less able to handle life's inevitable difficulties. The confrontation that Nietzsche demands is not with external enemies, but with your own trained weakness, your conditioned softness, your habitual retreat into comfort when difficulty appears. This is not a battle you win once through heroic effort. It's a battle you choose daily, sometimes hourly, in small decisions that compound over time into either progressive strengthening or progressive weakening. The question is not whether you'll face challenges, life guarantees you will, but whether you'll have maintained the capacity to metabolize them, or whether comfortable living will have atrophied that capacity entirely. In the silence of early morning, before the day's distractions, before comfort reasserts its claims, you face a choice. Not a dramatic, life-altering choice, but a simple one. Will you do the difficult thing you know strengthens you, or will you choose the easy thing you know weakens you? This is the only question that ultimately matters. Everything else is just comfortable philosophy, just ideas that make no demands, just wisdom that requires no wisdom to agree with. The true test of whether you understand Nietzsche is not whether you can explain his philosophy, but whether you can act against your comfort-seeking instincts when they conflict with your growth. Because anyone can agree that comfort weakens. That's obvious once stated. But very few can consistently choose discomfort when comfort is available, reject ease when ease is offered, pursue challenge when avoidance is possible. This is the divide between those who use Nietzsche's philosophy as interesting content and those who use it as actual practice. What begins to emerge in those who genuinely practice this is not grim determination, but something closer to aliveness. The nervous system trained to handle discomfort stops treating every challenge as a crisis. The mind, accustomed to confusion and difficulty, stops demanding immediate clarity and easy answers. The body, regularly pushed beyond comfortable limits, discovers reserves of energy that comfortable living never touches. This isn't about becoming harder in the sense of being cold or unfeeling. It's about becoming harder in the sense of being more durable, more capable, more resilient, which paradoxically makes you more, not less, able to be present with life's full range of experiences. But the discomfort doesn't disappear. This is crucial to understand. What changes is not that difficult things become easy, but that your capacity to engage with difficulty expands. The cold shower still feels cold. The difficult conversation still creates tension. The challenging workout still demands effort. The intellectual problem still resists easy solution. What transforms is your relationship with these experiences. They stop feeling like problems to be avoided and start feeling like opportunities to maintain and build strength. Nietzsche called this the eternal return. The idea that you should live as if you would have to repeat every moment of your life eternally. The question this poses is devastating in its simplicity. Would you choose this moment again? Would you choose this comfortable retreat? Would you choose this avoidance? Would you choose this weakness? Or would you choose the difficult path, the challenging engagement, the uncomfortable growth? The eternal return is not a metaphysical claim, but a psychological tool. It forces you to confront whether your current choices are ones you could affirm if you had to live them again and again forever. Those who have maintained their capacity for struggle understand something that comfortable people never learn. The satisfaction of overcoming real difficulty is qualitatively different from the pleasure of avoided discomfort. Comfort feels good in the moment but leaves you empty. Challenge feels hard in the moment but leaves you full. Comfort creates the craving for more comfort. Challenge creates the capacity for more challenge. Comfort makes you progressively more fragile. Challenge makes you progressively more resilient. The choice determines not just what you experience today, but what you become capable of experiencing tomorrow. The alchemy Nietzsche described is precisely this: the transformation of lead into gold, of weakness into strength, of comfortable softness into resilient hardness. But this alchemy requires what the medieval practitioners called sacred fire. Sustained heat applied over time. You cannot transform yourself through occasional effort or sporadic discipline. The fire must be maintained daily, the heat must be consistent, the practice must be uninterrupted. This is why most people never complete the transformation. They light the fire, feel its discomfort, and extinguish it, returning to comfortable coldness before any real change occurs. The moments when you most want to extinguish the fire are precisely the moments when the transformation is beginning. Your comfortable self recognizes the threat and produces every rationalization, every excuse, every justification for returning to ease. This is your trained weakness making its case for survival, your conditioned softness arguing for its preservation. The voice sounds reasonable. You've done enough. You deserve a break. It doesn't really matter that much. You can start again tomorrow. But these are lies that comfortable living tells to maintain its hold on you. What Nietzsche understood is that freedom, real freedom, not the comfortable simulacrum that modern life offers, exists only on the other side of discipline. The undisciplined person is not free. They're enslaved to every impulse, every craving, every habit, every comfortable pattern. They must have the easy option. They cannot tolerate discomfort. They're completely controlled by their need for ease. The disciplined person who has maintained their capacity for struggle is actually free. Free to choose the hard path when it leads somewhere valuable, free to endure discomfort when it serves growth, free to resist comfort when comfort would weaken them. This freedom manifests as a kind of inner sovereignty. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances, no longer controlled by the availability of comfort, no longer dependent on everything being easy for you to function. You can handle difficulty when it appears because you've never let yourself forget how to handle difficulty. You can embrace challenge when it arrives because you've regularly chosen challenge even when it wasn't required. You can remain centered during disruption because your center has been forged through consistent engagement with forces that test it. This is not the end of the journey, but its beginning. Because what you discover when you've rebuilt your capacity for struggle is that life becomes rich with possibility that comfortable living had made invisible. Challenges that would have paralyzed your comfortable self now appear as invitations to growth. Difficulties that would have crushed your untested strength now reveal themselves as opportunities to apply and increase that strength. The life that unfolds is not easier, it's harder, more demanding, more challenging. But it's also more vivid, more meaningful, more genuinely alive. The transformation is complete not when life becomes comfortable, but when you no longer need it to be comfortable to engage with it fully. This is what Nietzsche meant by the Übermensch. Not a superior being who dominates others, but a self-overcoming being who has transcended the need for life to be easy, who has moved beyond the demand for constant comfort, who has recovered the ancient human capacity to find vitality precisely in struggle. This person is not harder because they lack feeling, but harder because they have made themselves capable of handling all of their feelings, including the uncomfortable ones that soft living teaches us to avoid. The question that emerges is not, will I choose comfort or struggle, but what kind of person am I becoming through my daily choices? Because whether you're aware of it or not, you're choosing every day. You're either choosing practices that maintain your capacity for struggle or practices that allow it to atrophy. You're either building strength or losing it. There is no static state, no maintenance without effort, no preservation without practice. The direction is determined not by your intentions or your beliefs about what you value, but by what you actually do when comfort and challenge present themselves as options. What small comfort have you been unwilling to give up, even though you know it weakens you? What challenge have you been avoiding, even though you sense it would strengthen you? Share in the comments what discomfort you're going to engage with this week, or simply reflect on this in silence. Both are forms of commitment that matter. Nietzsche believed that we are constantly becoming either stronger or weaker, that there is no standing still, that every choice to seek comfort when challenge is available is a choice to diminish our capacity for life. He would say that the question is not whether you will suffer, suffering is guaranteed, but whether that suffering will be meaningful struggle that builds strength or meaningless decay that comes from avoided struggle. If this video challenged how you think about comfort and strength, or if it inspired you to choose one difficult thing over one easy thing today, leave your like and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the human mind through Friedrich Nietzsche. Until the next video,